All right, folks, the reel is back. AB here along with Jack. We are the Stream Catchers here to review Moon Knight Episode 1. Jack, how are you?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
Feeling good, feeling great. Just like I just said to you before I hit record, I'm happy to talk about a Marvel show again, talk about a weekly episodic review. So it's cool to get Moon Knight Episode 1 in. What did you think of the first episode of Moon Knight?
It was good. It was not anything over the top special, in my opinion. A lot of mysteries, a lot of expanding of the stuff from the trailer, which is fine. I'm still interested, but I'm not floored. How about you?
It's never good when you're like, it was interesting.
Yeah.
I liked it. I would agree. I don't think that it was anything that blew my mind or had me like, oh shit, I can't believe that. But they do have me invested, and going into it, I really wasn't as excited as I have been in the past for Marvel shows, just because I'm not very connected to this character. I am intrigued. I think that they did a lot of good things. I'm excited to talk about it. I would say that it was good, not great, but a really strong start to the series, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Maybe
fair?
this one needed a 2-episode premiere. Maybe it would have benefited from the 2-episode treatment.
Perhaps. I think that as the series goes on, we'll probably fall a bit more in love with it. Like you said, there are a lot of mysteries, there are a lot of questions I think that we have coming out of it that aren't quite answered, but there are some high points that I will talk about here. So let's just jump into quick hits and then we can dive in on the episode as a whole. How about that?
Let's do it.
This is directly from Wikipedia.
Okay.
Museum worker Stephen Grant occasionally suffers from blackouts and memories of another life. After going to sleep one night, he wakes up in another country and witnesses a cult meeting led by Arthur Harrow, who demands a scarab Grant unknowingly had in his possession. He escapes and is nearly killed, but is unknowingly saved by a mysterious voice in his head. After waking up in his home and noticing things out of place, Grant realizes that 2 days have passed since he went to sleep. Upon returning home from a misscheduled date, Grant finds a hidden phone and key card in his apartment. He gets a call from a mysterious woman called Layla, who calls him Mark. The next day at work, Grant is confronted by Harrow, who reveals that he is a servant of the goddess Ammit. Later that night, Harrow summons a jackal monster that attacks Grant at the museum. Just as Grant is cornered by the monster, his reflection in the mirror tells Grant to let him take control. Grant agrees, and he transforms into a cloaked warrior who then kills the monster. That's our episode. So,
yeah.
Again, I think that it was good. I think that they did a really good job focusing on Stephen Grant / Mark Spector and Arthur Harrow. I think that the show does look good. It definitely feels very different, had some dark elements to it. It still has that look and feel of the MCU, but it definitely also feels removed from everything else. There's a different feel from it that you don't feel like you're watching Iron Man. You don't feel like you're watching Spider-Man or Captain America. If anything, you could say maybe you have some shades of Doctor Strange in here, but it very much is its own thing. It's dark, like I said. There's a lot of blood, and I think that they did do a good job with it. It was an enjoyable episode, I thought.
It does still feel, in the Marvel family. It does still have a little bit of humor. Not as much humor as we see in say, Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Loki or something like that. It's a little more understated, and just kind of the general confusion of Steven, of our character here, is at the forefront all the time. And I think that works well for this first episode, but it's going to be weird if it continues on like that. He really needs some questions answered. He needs a conversation with Mark that isn't, with their impending doom.
It seems like that's coming. I don't think that this is going to be every episode. I think that they're going to move that along. I'm not worried about that. If I could just kind of say that, I suppose. I do think that final scene there where they're in the bathroom or whatever, the jackal's coming in and they're going back and forth. And Steven's like, you're not real. And Mark's like, we don't have time for this. Like, just give me
Right.
control. I thought that was really well done. And I think that Oscar Isaac brought a lot to that. And I think that he's really showing off his range here as far as he's both this bumbling idiot loser sort of guy, but also this badass mercenary. And I think that scene by itself showed what he is capable of. And I think that we're going to see more of that. And if we do, I think I'm really gonna enjoy this and really buy into this character.
Yeah, I liked both scenes where he's talking to himself in the
Yeah,
reflection in the mirror. I think that's a really good, albeit simple way to convey this, but it works. It's really cool.
I agree. Yeah, I think that was honestly my favorite part of the episode. Is really the mystery of the show is what's going on. Right? He wakes up. He's got a chain wrapped around his ankle. There's sand around his bed. He's got blue tape on the door. He's got all these safeguards because he feels like he leaves in the middle of the night. He's not quite sure. And then, of course, again, the mystery of the show is, oh no, this is real. What's going on? And as he's finding out, we're finding out. And I think that was really well done, especially that car chase scene where he's blacking in and out, and
Hmm.
he's at one point he's driving backwards, and the guy's got a gun, and then of course he looks back. There's cupcake all over his face. He's been shot. I think that a lot of the character stuff was actually really well done in this. It was really the highlight of the episode for me.
And we know that when Mark brings his body back to bed, right, he puts those safeguards back too, because there's the morning that
Yeah.
he wakes up after this whole adventure with the murder in the Alps.
Right. Yeah. So
So
he comes. Go ahead. Go
he's
ahead.
just completely disguising his whereabouts.
Yeah, yeah, it's great because he wakes up. He has that whole situation in the Alps where he first meets Arthur Harrow, goes through that car chase, and then he's back in bed. Oh, it was just a dream. Oh, ha ha ha, great. And then of course
Yeah.
he slowly finds out that's not the guy. I thought that was really well done, and I think again a highlight of the episode so far. I think that is going to be the highlight of the show for me. I think moving forward, I believe, is seeing how he switches from these characters. And we know we have a third character coming in at some point, Mr. Knight. I'll be interested to see how they handle that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know anything about Mr. Knight. Haven't done any research. I'm not going to, because I think that I'm interested enough to keep it a secret from myself, to just let the show teach me. You know what I mean?
Sure. Obviously, you have a great main character, main protagonist. Our antagonist here, Arthur Harrow, really was the person that opened the show.
Hmm.
And I really like how they handled this. He's really Ethan Hawke playing Arthur Harrow captures that cult leader vibe so well. Gives off some Charles Manson vibes there, and
Hmm.
I love the way that he's introduced. He comes out. That lady says, "Mr. Harrow." He says, "No, just call me Arthur." So right there, we have his name. We get shown what he does. We don't have to go through this whole. Here's Arthur Harrow. Here's why he's evil. They're putting us right into it. He's got all this voodoo magic and the scales and the cane. Any guy that takes a glass, smashes it, throws it in his Birkenstocks, and goes about his day is not a guy I want to mess with. So right out of the gate, I feel like this is a bad dude.
Yes. Yes. And his magic tattoo and his serving Amit, and yeah, there's going to be a lot to this guy. What I thought was the most interesting of the things that he said this episode, when he was talking about avatars. He was talking about, they just kind of touched it. They didn't really go on. They kind of dropped it and just and left. But I wonder if he is having the same thing that Stephen is having, only with Amit instead of well, we haven't said his name, but the Egyptian god that is speaking with Stephen.
Right, Khonshu, right, for sure. Yeah, that's a good. I
Khonshu.
didn't really think about that. That's a good point because yeah, you can definitely tell that. I think that's what's so scary about this guy is his motivation is that he has this unending belief in a higher power, which I think makes him unpredictable
Hmm.
and yeah, scary. And so I think that this guy is. We'll see what his connection to Ahmed is. If it's just he believes that this is a god that he has to serve, or if he is being controlled by it. We do know that at the beginning where he does break the glass, I made the joke, but he breaks the glass and he walks through what appears to be some sort of an Egyptian pyramid. There's another pyramid in the background, so I don't know if he's actually in Egypt at that point, but they're definitely leaning into the Egyptian theme here pretty heavily, which I think is pretty cool too.
It's fun. Yeah, it's interesting. It's I might have to brush up on my trivia a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, yeah, they didn't mention him by name, but we do know from the comics that it's Khonshu.
Okay.
That the guy with the long beak and the staff, and
Yes.
that's sort of where Mark Spector gets the power from, the Egyptian god of the moon. Yeah, I don't know how I really felt about this. The use of him here, it really gave me vibes of Venom from the
Hmm.
movies, the Eddie Brock Venom dynamic,
I
which
see that.
I don't necessarily mind in the movies. They have their moments, but I don't know if I want that here. I hope that they can figure a way to make it work. I wasn't completely turned off by it. I do think that he looks good in the show,
Yes. Yeah.
and he's a little sassy. I don't know if he's just going to be the comic relief of the show.
But
If
that's what they did
so,
with Venom too.
exactly, and that's kind of where I'm getting the Venom vibes. And I feel
Yeah.
like it's Marvel. They're going to throw their comedy in there. They're going to have that relief, and that's fine. But I don't know if that's something that I want here in this show. I don't really know if it's necessary to that level.
Yeah. My biggest takeaway with Khonshu is that he looks damn good. I think he looks really, really cool. And that is with a little bit of contrast. There were some special effects that were not so good in this episode. Did you make note of any of those? The logs rolling, or the guy falling out the back of the truck. There was just a little bit. I don't want to say sloppy, but it's just a little
Blatant.
blatant. Yeah, which I am of the camp where if you're I like that they're trying stuff, right? Like I would rather them try to go big and risk their special effects budget and stretch it out, and maybe make it look a little sillier than it should, than not do anything at all, right? Like I'd rather see over the top special effects stuff.
Yeah, I'm torn. I think that Marvel has a bit of an over reliance on CGI, but I don't know how you do these without having the special effects. And I'm not
Right.
saying that I'm anti special effects. I think that the VFX teams that work on these movies, they work incredibly hard, not just on Marvel, but just in general in Hollywood, and the ability to bring these fantastical worlds to life is great, and it does make for nice visuals. But sometimes it can be, like you said, this looks a little obvious that this isn't real. I know that might not be the right word to use, but it can take you out of
Unauthentic.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can take you out of it for sure. I think that when I was watching this on the first episode, those specific examples that you mentioned, I didn't really catch that. But
Hmm.
when I rewatched it, yeah, when the guy falls out, I kind of felt like, I don't know if it went too quick or what, but it didn't look quite natural. And the logs falling, you use that example as well, was,
Hmm.
yeah, a bit obvious. I think that I've also seen some shots in the trailers where they start using more magic that looks very like early 2000s CGI, where it's like, I don't know how
Okay.
well that's going to come off, but we'll see. It's the first episode. I don't want to go too hard on them. I will give them
Right.
credit because a lot of the stuff didn't look like it was in front of a green screen. It looked like some of it may have been shot on location. And if it wasn't, that's great because I couldn't tell. So
Yeah.
a lot of times you can obviously tell when it is a green screen. So I'll give them credit for that as well.
Yeah, and I would, much rather see the chinks in the armor here than at our main character at the Moon Knight costume, which looked great.
For sure.
The focus, the stuff that's in the focus. What a Khonshu and Moon Knight costume, like it looks good. So
For sure.
I,
For sure.
it's a gripe. It's not a complaint, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like I said, when I watched it on the first watch, I didn't really catch it. So it's probably not that big of a deal. If you're someone that's going
Nah,
to watch these multiple times, you're probably going to be like, oh, okay, I see where that
for
comes in
sure.
now. So it is what it is. But again, yeah, I think that they did a lot of things right here. They also set up a few mysteries. So let's start off with the scarab, this golden beetle that he has in
Yeah.
his jacket pocket. Uh, Harrow wants this beetle because it apparently belongs to Amit, but we don't really know why Khonshu doesn't want Steven to give this to Harrow. So, do you have any theories about that? What do you make of this scarab?
I really don't. I wish that I did, but we just don't have any context or clues in this first episode. If I was a little more well versed in the Moon Knight lore, maybe I'd have an idea, but with this, as far as this mystery, and honestly, a lot of the mysteries posed in this episode, I'm just along for the ride. What about you? Do you have any ideas?
Well, sure. I think that it could be one of two things. I mean, it's either an important relic that belongs to Amit that Harrow, maybe I don't know if he's a collector. That seems a little bit
Mm-hmm.
less likely because I don't know why Khonshu would want to keep him from getting that. That leads me to believe that there's some sort of power that comes along with it. I believe in the comics they had some sort of time travel sort of powers to some of these scarabs or some of these relics. Maybe there's something along those lines. I don't know for sure. I agree there weren't a whole lot of clues or context along with it, but it does seem like some power comes with having the scarab. I think that's the only thing that really makes sense to me. What exactly it is, I'm not sure. Maybe it's something that brings Amit before Harrow. Maybe he believes it brings Amit before him. Hard
Yeah,
to say.
the Mummy style, 1999 Brendan Fraser's The Mummy style.
I have not seen that, so I
Oh
went right
man,
over my bald head.
I forgot. Great movie.
Yeah.
Well, what we really need in episode 2, in my opinion, is a little context, a little backstory, maybe some sort of ancient rivalry between Amit and Khonshu. Maybe we need to learn more about Mark Spector, have a day in his life. I don't know, but with what we've got now, I have no guesses at these mysteries.
It does feel like we're going to spend some time with Mark in the next episode, given that we finally did get to see him in this one. The whole episode really teased that Mark is a person, exists. There's
Yeah.
the little shot early on where you just see his shadow in the mirror, and then of course finally at the end he's talking to Stephen Grant, and then he is allowed to take over, and here comes our cloaked warrior. I think that given that we ended the episode the way that we did, where you have the suit, he beats the jackal, turns around, fade to black, it does lead me to believe that we may open up right where we left off, and Mark takes over, and maybe he's walking along some hallway or something where you can see Steven's reflection, and Steven's like, hey man, what's going on? And we would see maybe a back and forth between them there, or maybe we just get more context of Mark and we get to take a day in his life.
Yeah, either way, any of those ways work. I just need more of him, and we need to know. We need to learn about Layla too. So I think we'll have to learn more about Mark the next one.
That was my next talking point. Is Layla and Duchamp? What do you make of that?
Nothing. I mean, I really got nothing, just because of of the trail running cold in this episode. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe if we had two episodes to review, we'd have a little more theorizing. But yeah, I've really got nothing.
For me, Layla seems to be an old associate of Mark, just based on her conversation with Steven. It sounds like she assumes Mark to be dead, seemed concerned about it, has been calling him for months and months. A little weird, in my opinion, that you were calling someone for months and months and months. I probably would just assume that they're dead, but she just kept calling him every day. So it seems like I would imagine she's probably going to fly to London to try to confront Steven and or Mark and see kind of what really is going on. But it does seem like she was an old associate or partner, maybe even a partner of his of some sort, relationship-wise, perhaps. Then there was one other name in that list of missed calls. It was just Layla, and then Duchamp. He stops on Duchamp for a second. There's a bit of an ominous musical note when his name pops up, and it leads me to believe that maybe that Duchamp is a bad person, he or she. I'm not too sure what to make.
Yeah. I thought about Googling it, but decided against it. I didn't want to ruin it for myself.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, he seems like somebody that may be an antagonist at some point. We'll see what happens. We'll see how that story unfolds. But anything else on the episode, Jack?
The only other thing that I wanted to mention was the little girl at the beginning of the episode that Steven catches throwing her trash in the little Pyramid of Giza display. She has she's talking with him about the underworld, the afterlife, and according to the ancient Egyptian myths. And she asks if it sucked that Stephen Grant didn't get to pass through the field of reeds, as if he had been some departed soul that she identified. it was a little creepy, a little weird, and then the scene gets hijacked by his boss. Do you think there's anything to that, or do you think that it was just kind of the episode's way of getting us interested?
Probably. Well, it seems like he wants to be a tour guide, and it seems
Right.
like his boss Donna is really only there just to convey how much of a bumbling loser he kind of is.
Hmm.
And because I know she's unnecessarily a bitch to a point where it's like, this is just kind of here to
Yeah.
show us that he doesn't really mean anything in the grand scope of things, and will hopefully aid in his character development throughout the show. I think that's probably the extent of what that was.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I think that's everything that I had. We covered the Scarab, covered Harrow. When he's talking to his mom on the phone, which he doesn't actually talk to his mom on the phone, but he's talking to her a couple times throughout the episode, but he's leaving her voicemails. Um, do you think that we'll see a mom character? Do you think she's dead and he's leaving voicemails to nobody? What do you think is up with the voicemails thing?
I honestly hadn't really picked up on that. Yeah,
I
I
just
don't
thought it
know.
was strange that it was both times he called his mom, it was voicemail.
That's a good pickup. I would say, yeah, maybe we do find out that she's not alive, or maybe it has something to do with his accident that caused the dissociative identity disorder. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. Only mysteries, no answers.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, I
Kind of the
think
theme of the episode.
that's all I got.
That's all I got.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for tuning in as always. You can follow us online. The links to our Instagram and Twitter are in the show notes below. If you're on the YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe, leave a comment, let us know how we're doing. And we'll catch you next week for episode 2 of Moon Knight.
We love you so much. We'll catch you later.